Welcome back, dog fans, to Live Beyond the Hedges. We are here again at the beautiful Sanford Stadium Friday night.
Yep.
We are about 23 hours from kickoff between Georgia and Alabama. Jacob, how you feeling?
I'm feeling excited. I'm happy to see the stadium lit in the best color possible, Georgia red. I'm excited to see how this atmosphere is going to look. As you said, basically 24 hours from now, I'm excited to see how, this transformation of before to then is going to look.
I'm really excited to see these colors in the fourth quarter. I think fourth quarter is going to be loud.
Oh, yeah.
It better be loud. It better be the loudest Sanford Stadium ever is.
I feel like it will be. Honestly, I'm getting chills talking about it.
I hope it's a close game at that point, so we actually have some huge momentum.
I don't.
From a narrative perspective. And
yeah,
from a
let's go. I hope it's 41-0.
I
hope it's 41-0, and by that point, this stadium's empty and traffic's light.
All right. Well,
dogs by 40.
I respect it.
Yeah.
And as a dog fan, that's what I'm hoping for as well. But
yeah.
as a media narrative perspective, I want to see something close. I want to see
competition and all that.
Yeah, all that. Everybody have a good time. But we come into this game, Georgia, Alabama 2-1 coming into this game, Georgia 3-0. These teams have obviously tons of history, a big rivalry, whether it's a yearly rivalry or not. These teams have a rivalry nonetheless.
Right.
Kirby Smart is 1-6 in his career against the Crimson Tide, with his lone win coming in the national championship in the 2021-2022 season.
Right.
How are you feeling coming into this game from a mindset perspective from Kirby and the Dogs?
I feel confident. I feel like the mindset coming into this game is a lot more of, hey, this is home now, and we don't lose at home. One quote that has been like punching in my head, kind of on my own because it just kept flickering. I actually thought about it in a dream, was the second national championship year heading into the season at the SEC Media Day. Coach Kirby went viral for one saying. He said, "We will not be hunted, and we will definitely not be hunted at the University of Georgia." And that's exactly how I feel at this game. I know them boys are coming with a vengeance, and they're not going to let anybody, especially the Alabama Crimson Tide, come into our home at Sanford Stadium and leave without a loss.
Yeah, I know that people will say we've won, 33 straight home games dating back to 2019. Record. I know people will say, oh, that doesn't really matter because it's the Bama game. Like, Bama brings another level. It does matter.
It matters.
It definitely matters. Winning 33 straight at home matters. That is a big feat and a big accomplishment and a testament to Kirby and just the organization, if you will, that he has built here at Sanford Stadium and here with the University of Georgia. The home field advantage is a very real thing.
Yeah,
it is going to play a massive factor, whether Bama fans, Georgia fans, or national college football fans want to admit it. What are you hoping to see from Georgia fans in terms of atmosphere, in terms of energy? What are you hoping to see from them tomorrow night?
I want to see Neanderthals.
Okay.
I want to see animals. I want to see real bulldog mentality. I want people barking till their voices go out. I mean, this place, I want people from Atlanta to be able to hear this stadium. That's how loud I want it. That's how poppin' I want it. This should be a night for, honestly, all Georgia fans to remember. The environment's going to be great. We already got that Southern hospitality, brewing through y'all's blood, not really mine. But I'll adopt into this family for this game. This means something to the city of Athens, and it means something to the guys on the football team. So, let's go show that out there tomorrow.
Yeah, obviously this is a game of rivalry and a game of Kirby Smart against Alabama and seeing what's going to happen with that.
For sure.
Do you feel like the team and the coaches feel like this is kind of almost a vindication game? Like, this game is going to be a vengeance game, if you will. Like, we lost them last year in a game we should have lost, but then should have won and then lost. Obviously a thriller. Do you feel like this is Kirby's kind of going into this as it's Alabama, it's a big game, but it's just a game this year, not really looking at the last couple of years? Or do you think he's thinking about this like it's time to get vengeance on the Crimson Tide?
Publicly, I think the first answer. I think he's he's going to tell you it's another game, it's all that stuff. But as we know as fans, as you and I know as hosts, Alabama, Florida, I'd even put Tennessee in there. Auburn are never just a game. There's so much emotion, there's so much tradition, there's so much history. As you said, 1-6 in his tenure here, and I know that keeps him up. We got to beat the Crimson Tide, and we got to beat them to get to where we want to go to. Whether that's not only just this game, but it could be later down the line in the SEC, later in the playoffs if we know we both match up. This is a team that we have a chance to play at, not just now, but later down the season. So you want to set a statement now, and for the guys, this is definitely a vindication game. dudes. I know how we felt after that game last year. I wasn't with them, this season to feel, but if they have the same mindset we had last year when we lost to Bama, we wanted them again. And we were rooting for Bama to get in the playoffs because we wanted them again.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had to wait, basically a year to get that chance back, I think these dudes are going to be ready. And I know they coming with a different, they see red.
Literally.
Yeah. Literally.
Last time Alabama was in Athens, 2015, ugly story for the Dogs, 38-10 final score in favor of the Crimson Tide. Big difference in this game.
For sure.
No Nick Saban.
No Nick Saban.
This will be the first time they come to Athens with no Nick Saban in what feels like 20 years.
Yeah.
How do you think, from a Kalen DeBoer perspective, how are you expecting that to go from his mentality? Are you expecting this is a team we've beaten on a routine basis, or it's a whole new ball game because he's only played us once? Is this a whole new thing, or is this the Georgia-Alabama rivalry of old to him?
I think it's a mix of both because, one, it's a different team. And I will say, to an extent, this is the first time we will see a Kalen DeBoer team. Mm-hmm. Not to take anything away from him, but the team they had previously was kind of still inherited from, as we saw, Jalen Milroe was quarterback. Mm-hmm. A lot of the receivers were returning. A lot of the defense was returning players that were already on the team with Nick Saban. Mm-hmm. So this is a team that this is his lineage now. Mm-hmm. People are putting this, the success or the failures of this team on him. There's no more you either got good off of Saban or you did bad because of whatever Saban left over. This is all on him. And as crazy as it sounds for, a record that he has, which is still a winning record, and he has a lot of ranked opponents, the standard of Alabama football, he's kind of on the hot seat. As we've seen, some fans are calling for his name. Mm-hmm. One lady said if she won the Powerball, she would spend the first $70 million to pay out his buyout.
I saw that.
So there are fans that really don't want him there. So for him, this could be a huge game to, I don't even want to say save his job because we don't know how the athletic directors and all that feel. Mm-hmm. But at least with the fans, kind of get them off his back a little bit. Like, okay, hey, I beat Georgia away, mm-hmm. So relax. Give me some time. But I hope none of that holds true. I hope they keep going for his head, and I hope we make it even worse for him.
Yeah, I think that kind of leads into another point that Alabama under Kalen DeBoer has struggled on the road. I mean, last year we saw them drop a game to Oklahoma on the road. Mm-hmm. We saw them drop a game to Vandy on the road. They lost another one in there on the road. I don't remember.
Florida State this year.
Florida State this past year on the road. This has not been a Alabama team from a discipline standpoint, specifically on the road. We saw a lot of penalties against Florida State. We saw penalties against Oklahoma and Vandy last year. A lot of
loafs against Florida State, too.
Exactly. And what are you thinking the message is from Kalen DeBoer to the locker room in this coming game, where this is going to be louder than Florida State, it's going to be louder than Oklahoma, it's going to be louder than Vanderbilt? What's the mindset and what's the conversation like in the locker room from Kalen DeBoer to his guys?
Honestly, I think most coaches are kind of, copy and paste when it comes. I think it's going to be, hey, ignore all that outside noise. All we have is the guys in this locker room, the guys in this facility. The same thing Coach Kirby would do, when we were taking some heat from fans, from media, because Lord knows we've been doubted a bunch of times. Just like I'll even say, for the example, Texas last year, the first game, we were doubted, and that whole mantra we took was, hey, all we got is the guys in this room, the people in this facility, and that's all we need. So whatever they're saying outside of this building has no effect on what we're doing. We just got to band together as a family, and we'll get the product we want.
Hear that, Dog fans? Kalen DeBoer wants to tune you out. Let's make that impossible.
Facts.
Let's jump to the Georgia side of the ball.
For sure.
Georgia, obviously, coming into this game 3-0, coming off a big win against Tennessee 2 weeks ago. Had a bye week, had extra time to prepare for the Crimson Tide. What is it like in an off week, in a bye week? What is the difference between that and a preparation, from a preparation standpoint for the guys and for Kirby specifically? Because I know we've talked about this. Bye weeks are not bye weeks.
Yeah, bye weeks are worse. Bye weeks are worse than game weeks.
So what is the preparation difference between a typical week-to-week versus a bye week, specifically preparing for a team like Alabama?
So I'll say in my history when I was on the team, I don't know exactly how they've done it this season, but in my history, we more focused on our mistakes before we even got into the team we were playing next. Mm-hmm. So Coach Kirby always used bye weeks as an opportunity to better ourselves. Like, hey, if we've been weak in, I'm just naming things, not specifics, but like tackling or blocking. I remember one year it was, hey, we're going back to the fundamentals this bye week. We're learning how to tackle, wrap up, get a dude down, not, these throwing in shoulders and, diving at knees and all that stuff. Or for running backs, it was like, hey, We haven't had a fumbling problem. I think it was 2023 season. We hadn't had a fumbling problem, but they're like, hey, we don't want this to rear its ugly head at the end of the season. Let's make sure we keep this foundation strong. And then around Wednesday to Thursday of the week, we start emphasizing, okay, here's the game plan. Now we can get ahead for the team we're playing next week, which this week will be Alabama. So I think from that standpoint, they definitely improved on the issues we had in Tennessee. They had a whole extra week to sit down and really focus on, okay, DBs, we got to finish on the ball. O-line, we got to get a little bit better in pass protection. We can get better here. We can get better there. Let's make sure these things are fine-tuned. And then, around middle of the week, okay, here's a scouting report. Here's what we expect them to do. Here's how we have a game plan to, combat that and attack that. Here's the plan. And then that's how we go about it.
So kind of building off that, we'll talk about some of those problems that were addressed this past week with Tennessee. Let's talk about something that wasn't a problem. Your guy, Gunner.
Yeah, Gunner
is making his first home ranked start, his first big ranked start. What is the vibe like? I know you're not in the locker room, but rallying around a guy like Gunner, because you were in the locker room with him for 2 years. What do you think the vibe is like right now, rallying around him before his first home start?
Honestly, a guy like Gunner, they might look a little nervous before games, but with Gunner, he's just so even and steady and calm the whole time. It almost rests your nerves because you're kind of like, hey, man, if he's got to be QB1 and he's got to go out here and perform in front of all these people and all the expectations and pressures are on him every play, and he can be calm and relaxed, man, I gotta chill out. So it kind of brings your nerves down when you see a guy in a leadership position so relaxed, so calm. The same thing Coach Kirby does, and he passes that down to his leaders on the team as well.
Yeah, I think after watching his gutsy performance against Tennessee I guess the week before last, it definitely calmed my nerves about Gunner, just because obviously I love him and I had faith in him, but it's very, very hard to just walk into Neyland and be successful and have the poise that exactly, and have the poise that he did. So that was something that calmed my nerves and made me feel a lot better about this game. On the Gunner side, I think his legs are going to have to be a massive, massive factor in tomorrow's game. I know we both listen to some similar people and watch some similar things, so you might have heard the same thing, and we can kind of go on about this. But in big games like this is where the quarterback's legs are actually almost game planned for, because in games like Austin Peay or Marshall or something like that, their legs are a factor, but it's not necessarily in the script. Like, hey, we know when we're 3rd and short, 3rd and 3, we've got this QB power play in the back pocket. Like, that's not necessarily going to come out against Marshall or Austin Peay. This is the game where his legs are actually game planned for.
Yeah.
Are you expecting to see true Gunner designed run in this game?
I do, especially from the standpoint that Alabama has struggled against the run this season. Now they are getting top D lineman Tim Keening back for this game, who missed the first 3 games with an ankle injury. But that's one player. I'm biased to my O-line. They've been great in the run game so far. They've struggled in the pass game a little bit, but in the run game, they've been stout. They've been creating movement, and they've been able to push dudes back. And Gunner has shown he's willing to put his head down to run through anybody. And I don't think that's going to change with the Crimson Tide. With this game, I do want to go back to what you said about, a lot more things are game plan and all that. I think in these games, we really see coordinators, their I don't say value.
They're locked in.
They're locked in, and a lot more plays are reactionary rather than, in some games you are genuinely going in with a script. Austin Peay or Marshall, no discredit to those teams, but you're kind of going in like, okay, hey, here's what we want to see. We got our whole. In some cases, you got your whole first 2 drives scripted out.
Yep.
In this game, it's going to be, okay, what are they giving us? What are they doing? What are they trying? The first quarter, I'm not Coach Bobo, I'm not Coach Kirby, and I'm not Coach Schumann. But I know for some teams, it might even be, hey, the whole first quarter, we're just trying to see what they're doing. And then 2nd through 4th, now we put in this attack. So, I'm excited to see how the coordinator battle, the chess game up in the box, when they're looking down and they're like, okay, where are they messing up? Where can we attack? Where do we need to, relax a little bit because they're trying to press us here. I'm excited to see that matchup as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great point. I think in a lot of these massive, massive games that it truly is just coordinator versus coordinator.
It's a chess match.
Chess match. That's exactly right. And the teams are so talented. Both of them are so talented roster-wise, top to bottom, always the top of the recruiting list every year. So it's truly going to come down to it. As much as people are going to hate to hear this, It's going to come down to almost a Bobo masterclass if we're going to pull this out on offense. Now, something that you mentioned is that in the run game, the offensive line has been fantastic.
For sure.
In the pass game, the offensive line has been not necessarily Georgia-esque.
For sure.
And we have some question marks on the right side of the line. It doesn't look like Ernest Green is going to play. He's doubtful. Juan Gaston is probable, I think, but he's been playing right guard and right tackle.
Yeah,
he's
guard, mostly guard, yeah.
What are you expecting to see not only on the right side of the line, but adjustments made for the game for the offense, for the offensive line in particular?
I don't know what I'm expecting, but I will say what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to see 55 out there. I'm hoping to see Bo Hughley strapping up that right side of the O-line. It felt like where we were having issues on the right side of the O-line. I won't even say a singular person because it's not just one person. Mm-hmm. When he came in that fourth quarter and overtime, it felt like things kind of calmed down. It felt like, the guy they had opposite of him, I think it was 19 for Tennessee. Mm-hmm. He was kind of causing havoc all game for us, whether it was QB hurries or just getting to the backfield. And then when Bo came into the game, it just felt like everything just kind of silenced, and these O-line issues weren't a problem anymore. So I'm hoping to see 55 out there in some facet because he's a big dude. I mean, that's it. And he just kind of creates a big wall, and he helps, that whole O-line of just massive human beings, kind of like the Great Wall of China. Mm-hmm. And like you said, to get back to that Georgia-esque O-line, we love and expect.
Yeah, so kind of flip into the defensive side of the line, and we'll go back to the offense in a second, just while we're in the trenches. The Georgia D-line has also not been Georgia-esque. We have not had a defensive lineman record a sack this year, if I'm not mistaken. It's been all the linebackers and the outside guys. We're going to need to get some pressure on Ty Simpson if we're going to want to win this game. Ty Simpson has been surgical when he's had time in the pocket.
No turnovers.
No turnovers. He's completed, I think, over 90% of his balls in the last 2 games. And he truly hasn't been hit that much, I'll say. But he has been hurried. He was hurried a lot in the Wisconsin game. He was feeling the pressure constantly, but he found a way to get through it. No discredit to Wisconsin. Georgia's defensive line is another level.
Yeah, it's not Wisconsin.
Georgia's defensive line is going to need to get in his face, knock him down, and pressure him in order to make an impact on this game. What is it going to take from the defensive line in order to make an impact on an Alabama offensive line that has struggled this season?
Tenacity. Coach Kirby always says not only is it 4 quarters or 60 minutes or 4 quarters or as long as it takes, but also the message he sends to not even just our D-line but our whole front 7 as a whole, especially when it comes to pass rush, is it could take 4 seconds. It could take 4 to 5 seconds. It could take 6 seconds. He used to show clips in practice meetings of like NFL plays where it's like, you all thinking these pass rush moves, especially at camps, are these quick 2-second plays. If you get to the quarterback, you get him. If you don't, you don't. Sometimes it's the extra effort. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's, okay, when he rolls out the pocket, who's going to continue to chase him down and really go get after him? Because we're going to create pressure. I believe that, no doubt. And schematically, it's never really our D-line getting sets. It's always our edges because the D-line is just they're kind of caving in that pocket to where, the edges, the Chris Coles in the past, the Jalen Walkers, the Trevon Walkers, all them type of dudes could come off the edge and clean everything up.
Yeah, I think that if you look at Georgia last year, we were kind of saying the same thing early last season, how the D-line wasn't looking Georgia-esque. And a good point that I heard earlier today was that it was the same kind of doubts that we had going into the Texas game. And Georgia's defensive line, whether it's coordinator or talent or roster, finds a way to rise to the moment a lot. And this feels like the type of game where, while we haven't had a ton of pressure, we haven't had a ton of sacks on the defensive line, this feels like the type of game where they lock in, put in the extra persistence, and make sure they get home to the quarterback and make a true impact on this game. Because, like I said, if you give Ty Simpson time to throw the ball, he's going to kill us.
He's been impressive, for sure.
He's been great. And that plays right into the secondary. Secondary struggled against Tennessee, but showed signs of promise further down the line. They improved, they made adjustments, but the secondary did struggle against Tennessee. But the secondary is going to need to rely on the defensive line in order to not be covering for 6 seconds.
Agreed.
Like, it just can't happen. And that's the only way that they're going to be able to stay in this game is if the defensive line makes a true impact. What are you hoping to see from the secondary in tomorrow's game in terms of improvements from last week?
The only thing I think the secondary really needs to improve on is just finishing on the ball.
Yep.
And then there were a few communication errors, maybe guys thinking they had overtop coverage where they didn't, guys thinking that guys knew they didn't have overtop coverage where they didn't. But for the most part, when it came to man-to-man and covering this guy, we were fine. We were in position. And that's all you could really hope for when it comes to being a defensive back in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Now you just got to finish on the ball, which is something you can teach. You can teach, hey, we're going to throw the ball high, just like Little League. We're going to throw the ball high, go catch it at the highest point. Or bat it down at the highest point if that's, the best thing you can do. Just get it done. And I'm not too worried about the secondary. I expect them to come out and have a good showing.
Yeah, let's talk about one more thing on the Georgia side, and then we'll flip to Alabama. The receivers are going to make a big impact on this game. Last year, obviously, we had a very talented roster, very different receiver core this year, very different level of play. Honestly, we have multiple guys that are going to be playing on Sundays.
For sure.
How is that going to make an impact versus, I know last year we had some drops with the receiver core. How do you think that plays an impact in tomorrow's game? In a vacuum compared to last year?
I think that's going to be the matchup of the game. Honestly, I think it's going to be vice versa. Our DBs versus their receivers, and our receivers versus their DBs. Because in my opinion, I think their DBs are the strongest part of their defense. Mm-hmm. With Keon Sabb, Damani Jackson leading that back, and Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. versus Dylan Bell, who had a big game against Bama last year with 5 receptions, 100 yards, and the big touchdown that gave us the lead. Mm-hmm. Zach Branch, who's been a dog all season. London, who's proven to be clutch. And then let's not forget the tight ends that we haven't really seen get a lot of shine. But in a game like this is where they could be kind of the surprise tool nobody's thinking about. Mm-hmm. Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky, maybe even Elias Williams if, we want to throw a little fade ball. Mm-hmm. So, I'm excited to see, how I'm going to say receiving room, not even just wide receivers, because I think the tight ends also might be a key factor in this game as well, go against this secondary.
Yeah, I think this feels like the type of game where we could see a breakout from somebody. Obviously, Alabama's game prepping hard for Zach, and game prepping hard for London, and game prepping hard for the tight ends, and Colby Young, and Dylan Bell. Mm-hmm. Feels like the kind of game where we could see a little Noah Thomas big game, like maybe not like 100 yards, but
sure.
Come up with a couple key receptions that make a big difference in the end up in the result of the game. I said this online and got a little lashback for it, and I'm gonna address that. I said that the biggest matchup would be our receiver or their receivers versus our DBs, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, sky blue," says the guy, "grass is green." Sometimes that's just what it is. Sometimes the grass is just green and the sky is just blue. Sometimes it's just that simple, and the obvious is the obvious, but it just has to be stated. It's going to be the matchup of the game. It's going to be extremely, extremely important for one side of the ball to dominate, and I think whoever dominates that side of the ball is going to win the game.
I agree.
I think if we get taken over the top a whole bunch, it's going to be very hard for us to come back. And we did it last year, and we did it against Tennessee, but this is a mindset game.
You don't want to keep teetering that line.
Exactly. Eventually, teams are really good about winning one-score games. It happens and they go on runs, but the more one-sided games you're in, or the more one-possession games you're in, the more you're going to lose. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be in those games consistently and often, but having the ability to win those games is massive, and we have that in our favor. Let's jump to the Alabama side. Ty Simpson has been a difference maker this year, and I think better than some people expected coming into the year. Obviously, highly touted recruit, been in the Bama system. How do you feel Ty Simpson has performed thus far in their first 3 games?
He's performed great. No turnovers, especially in games that they've lost. That's pretty impressive, because you would just kind of assume, when you see a loss, you're like, oh, the quarterback struggled. That's always what people naturally assume. But he's played relatively fine. Even in that Florida State game, he really didn't make a lot of bad decisions. He's seeing the field well. He's making a lot of good reads. And I think in an offense that favors the quarterback, especially, Kalen DeBoer, we saw those masterful offenses he put together at Washington. Mm-hmm. With Michael Penix, we saw how explosive that offense was. Mm-hmm. Bringing that to Bama with their athleticism and, like you brought up earlier, their level of recruiting and recruits they're able to bring in could be a real threat. But I will also say a big factor in the past has been the use of feet.
Yep.
With Jalen Milroe, that was always the problem. It's like, man, this dude has the rocket arm that can launch at 60 yards, but he also might be the fastest dude on the field as well.
Exactly.
For Ty Simpson, I'm not discrediting his ability whatsoever, but the dog, we've shown we can play good against a pocket passer.
Yes.
And I would argue he's more of a pocket passer than, I'm not going to say he can't move, but I think he's more, trying to sit back in the pocket and dice you up, and I think we'll be okay with that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting looking at the college football landscape and looking at teams with pocket passers versus guys who can move. And I feel like the guys who can move are obviously always at an advantage because they're a dual threat guy.
For sure.
But when it really comes down to it, in those gotta have it moments, I feel like 80% of the time it happens with these guys' legs. Like, it happens on the ground. The quarterback scrambles out of the pocket because in those moments the pressure is usually pretty good. The defensive line steps up, and it's the guys who can navigate the pocket, get outside, either make a play with their legs or make a great throw on the run that really make the difference. And Ty Simpson can move
for sure,
but he's not like he's not a Gunnar Stockton.
That's not what he's looking to do.
No, he's not a Gunnar Stockton. He's not even like a Carson Beck because Carson had sneaky legs. Carson could sneaky move. I would equate him more to a Carson Beck, obviously, than a Gunnar Stockton. But he's going to have to make plays on the ground because the pressure, the pocket will collapse eventually on him. And he's going to have to navigate that and find a way to find it. They're not only the receivers, but what's going to play a big factor is their running backs. And finding the running backs out of the backfield is going to be a key to their victory, I think, because a lot of times when the pocket collapses, the receivers are often not breaking on their routes yet. They're not open. Finding the running back out of the backfield is going to be a massive point for them, and they're getting a big one back in Jam Miller.
Yep.
How do you think that affects the outcome of this game?
I think it's going to be huge. You know, he's coming back after also missing the first 2 games with a collarbone injury. And I think it's going to be big. But one thing I watched, you know, like we said, we watched a lot of the same stuff preparing for this show. One thing I saw that I didn't think about that I know in the past we would try to do is that extension of the run game outside of just a traditional, hey, turn around and handing the ball. A flat to the running back, you know, 2 yards horizontally off the sideline is basically an extension of the run game. Like, hey, instead of tossing it where they're clearly all just going to flow here, we can, you know, call it a pass, get that whole secondary to drop back, even some linebackers to drop back, and just dink it off to our, in most cases, more athletic running back to, you know, go get it, make some plays and get north and south. I think that's going to be a big piece in the game, especially last year where Jam Miller had a reception touchdown against our linebackers. And we were kind of on our, now that also went to the fact that we were always on our heels wondering if it was going to be pulled from him and, you know, Jalen Milroe going up down the sideline. But I do know Jam Miller is definitely a factor. His speed, his versatility, his ability to catch the ball, which is a must-have in Kalen DeBoer's offense if you're a running back. I think that's going to be a big piece.
And Alabama this year has not necessarily been Alabama offense. Obviously, Kalen DeBoer, Nick Saban, very different programs.
For sure.
But they're only running the ball, I think it was 54% of the time. It's 54-46, which is a significant downgrade from Alabama teams of past, and Alabama fans are probably a little jarred seeing them throw the ball around that much. With the addition of Jam Miller, do you think that's going to entice them to run the ball more, or do you think they're going to kind of continue with their same trends of offense?
I can't exactly predict that, but if I had to guess, I would go with they're going to do a little bit. They're going to stay with what they've been doing. I think they will run the ball a little bit more comfortably, but in my opinion, I can't remember his name, but I know he wears number 28. He wasn't running bad. He was not running bad at all, like by any means. In the Florida State game, he had some solid runs. In the Wisconsin game, he had some solid runs. He really hasn't been running bad. I mean, the O-line has also struggled a little bit. But like I said, I think it's going to be more of them trying to figure out ways to steal yards with, you know, like with those extension run plays, whether it's a dink and dunk here, whether it might be a screen to a receiver, you know, other things like that, with the same things we'll utilize, rather than them just turning around and handing it to Jam Miller and being like, hey, go get this halfback dive and go get us, you know, 5 to 6 yards. Instead, it could be like, hey, we're going to dink it out here. We're going to get a little bubble screen here. We're going to get a jailbreak here, stuff like that.
And a big factor in the run game is going to be the offensive line, which has been, for a lack of better words, pushed around. For the last 3 weeks. They got pushed around by Florida State, obviously dropped the game. They got pushed around by Wisconsin last week. Georgia is another monster when it comes to defensive pressure. And the offensive line obviously is going to play a massive factor, not only in protecting the quarterback, but making holes for the running backs. Do you think that this is something that is kind of an inherent trait of Alabama this season, that their offensive line is just down? Or do you think it's just so happened these last 3 games they've just gotten pushed around a little bit?
I think we're going to find out tomorrow.
That's a good point.
I think that's going to be you know, I think everything leading up, you know, Florida State was definitely a bad look. Like I said, there was a lot of, it's one thing to have mistakes and it's one thing to have loafs. Especially offense and defense. It wasn't just the offensive line. There was a lot of loafs on defense as well. But I think tomorrow is definitely going to be, you know, what they're graded on. Like, hey, you know, you did bad them first 3 weeks, but if you pull out and you block, you know, you're pushing the top D line and you're making some movement on that line of scrimmage, nobody's really going to care about them last 3 games. You know what I mean? So I think tomorrow is really going to be where they're able to either get rid of everything they've done in the past and, create a new idea and a new mantra behind them, or it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah, and it's definitely not a lack of talent.
No, it's never is.
Their offensive line, talent-wise, is ridiculous. Caden Proctor is one of the best offensive linemen in the country.
For sure.
And he is somebody we're going to look to get off their game, his game very quickly. Because if he gets his feet in the ground and he gets planted and he's feeling good early in the game, that side of the offensive line is going to be shut down. He is a phenomenal playmaker. And
he's playing on Sundays.
Yeah. For sure.
He's playing 100%. On Sundays.
And he will be a key factor in Alabama winning the game if he can get going early. On the defensive side of the ball, we mentioned what's his name? Tim
Keenan.
Tim Keenan coming back for Alabama this coming week. The defensive line has been solid. It's been good. And the Georgia offensive line, like we talked about, has struggled. How do you think that their defensive line is going to play a factor in tomorrow's game?
As great of a player as Tim Keenan is, I'm not really that worried because our interior hasn't been a problem.
Not at all.
I trust Michael Morris. I definitely trust Drew Bobo.
Yep.
And I trust whether it's Juan Gasson or Dontrell Glover, they've been great on interior. We've run the ball fine. We run the ball fine. It might not be to the numbers people want to see, but that's because I don't think that's because of us. I think that's more because of the rotation we've had at running back. So no guy is getting a 20 carries a game, even a 15 carries a game to, mask a large amount of yards. It's more been a Chauncey Bones might get 7 carries here. Nate Frazier might get 9. Dwight Phillips might come in for his 5, end arounds, his stretches, his runs like that.
Yep.
But for the most part, it's more been a running back by committee. So that's why, the numbers don't look as jarring as, one guy having 150 yards. But I'm not worried about Tim Keenan's a phenomenal player. He's definitely going to be in the NFL, and it's definitely going to be a task to stop him. But I'm not too worried. I think our guys are going to be able to handle it.
Jumping back to the offense quickly before we move to the last piece of the Alabama being the secondary, the receivers have been, I don't want to say different than Alabama receivers, but it's got a different vibe than last year. Last year it was kind of the Ryan Williams show, being 17 years old. He's
18 now.
He's 18 now, being the focal point of the offense. Now, not only do they have Ryan Williams, but they also have
Jeremy Bernard and Isaiah Horton, the transfer from Miami.
And both have been, especially Bernard has been.
Oh, my God. Bernard, all credit to Ryan Williams. I more mean this to boost up how great Bernard's been playing. Bernard has looked like the best receiver on the team. And I mean that with no disrespect to Ryan Williams because he's also picked up his play. But Bernard has just been that great. Yeah,
100%. And we talked about last week that Ryan Williams is just now getting into the flow of the offense. He really picked it up against Wisconsin last week. And Georgia's secondary obviously getting battle-tested last week against Tennessee. Do you think it's going to take a big receiver game from Alabama in order to win this game? Or do you think they can win the game without the receivers being the most effective piece of the offense?
No. I think it's going to be – they're going to have to rely on that playmaking down. I think if you make this game in that front seven, Coach Kirby's never going to lose no game in that front seven. It's definitely going to have to be outside – out wide. I'd hate to disrespect Bama, but at the end of the day, I played at Georgia. You're not beating us in that middle of the middle of the field. There's no way Coach Kirby's ever going to put out a team that loses in the game in the middle of the field. You got to put that. I don't want to curse. You got to put that foolishness out wide and try to play 7-on-7. But it's when it comes down to grit, toughness, resiliency. Those are all of our staples as a program. So they're going to have to sit outside.
This is kind of a side note and a weird thing to go to and something we don't usually talk about. But last year, final score being 41-34. The over-under this year is 52.5.
I saw that.
It's really low for a game that was in the 70s last year in terms of points. What do you think that says about not only Vegas's knowledge of the game, but do you think that's an accurate representation of what you think this game is going to be?
To an extent. Not that I believe it, but I think the narrative out there, especially from Vegas' standpoint, is that these are 2 new quarterbacks.
Yep.
So the idea of, even though Gunnar Stockton, in my mind, has played great all season, at a Heisman level all season, and as we said, Ty Simpson has equally played great all season. None of them have played Georgia-Bama yet. So people are still waiting to see, they might still believe, coordinators are going to come out a little bit more timid and conservative early on, so where it might be, hey, this might be a game where they pass, but it's more off of play action. It's more off of, dink and dunks, RPOs. It's not really going to be something where, you're just sitting back and watching dudes launch it 50 yards down the field back and forth the whole time. Now, could it be that? I'm not against that. I believe Gunnar has the arm talent to do it, and I believe our receivers and O-line can hold up and handle that task if it gets to that game, that type of game. But I think that score range is about right.
Okay. What time are we at? Perfect. We can we can cut there, and then we'll do. Lastly, let's get to some key matchups in the Georgia-Alabama game tomorrow. I'll talk about the Georgia offense first. I think our biggest key impact player on the offensive side is going to be whoever is playing on the right side of the offensive line.
For sure.
Whether that's Juan or whether that's Bo or whether that's Ernest if he ends up playing. I know he's doubtful with some back tightness. Whoever that ends up being is going to be the biggest impact player of the game. There are question marks surrounding the right side of the offensive line, and it has been a struggle so far this season to find somebody that's not just kind of filling in gaps here and there, and then you throw somebody else who is injured back in, and it's kind of been a rotating door. Whoever's on that right side is going to need to protect Gunner's strong side all night because the Bama defensive line is no joke. And the right tackle, obviously, being a question mark is something that Alabama is going to have to go after and going to challenge. If we can maintain the right side of the offensive line and keep that lockdown, it is going to be a world of difference in this game in terms of Alabama's defensive line's confidence, in terms of coaching confidence, in terms of everything. I think the right side of the offensive line is going to be the biggest key impact player for Georgia on the offense.
And on the defensive side of the ball, I think the main impact players are going to be whoever they decide to go with at DB2, whether it's, Ellis Robinson or Daniel Harris. We clearly saw, some issues and struggles in the last game versus Tennessee, but we saw those issues fixed also in that same game. Basically from the second quarter, you could argue second half on, they didn't put up any points, and it seemed like the DBs were able to fix whatever problems we were having. So I'm excited to see how they take that, improvement and bring that into this game.
Who do you think it's going to be? Who do you think the matchup is going to be for the most part? Do you think it's going to be Ryan Williams at receiver 2, or do you think it's going to be Jeremy Bernard playing wide receiver 2?
I'm not sure because, honestly, as we've seen, they've gone back to resorting to put Ryan Williams, back wide out, whereas, early season they had him in the slot where they were trying to, scheme him open a little bit, but he's a one-on-one guy. He wants his matchups. He wants to be able to go up and go get the ball. He wants to be able to juke around, which is, not a bad thing, but, that's just where he feels more comfortable. So I think they're going to try to go back to – I think it's going to be a more balanced attack. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. I think we're truly going to see hey, we're getting the ball to him. We're getting the ball to Bernard. We're getting the ball to Williams. We're even getting the ball to Isaiah Horton. We're getting the ball at the backfield, as we spoke about earlier, to Jam Miller. I think it's going to be all around.
And I think that leads perfectly into my Alabama key player on offense, which is going to be Jeremy Bernard. I think we know what Ryan Williams is, and we've seen 3 games of Jeremy Bernard be great, but I want to see what he is against a very talented 4- and 5-star Georgia secondary where Georgia's truly game planning around him. I think coming into the season, teams were not game planning around Bernard. They were game planning around Ryan Williams, and they were game planning around that scheme. But with the breakout of Bernard through 3 games, this is probably going to be the first game where they have an elite coordinator game planning specifically for him. And I'm very curious to see how Alabama responds to the potential opposition that Schumann puts to Bernard in general.
For sure.
And I think in order for Bama to have a successful game and a successful game script, it's going to rely around Bernard getting targets, getting easy looks, and making plays throughout the game.
Agreed.
On defense?
On defense?
This was the hard one.
For Bama, I'm probably going to go Deontay Lawson because the way we run our offense, I mean, it'd be great to watch us, take the top off Alabama a few times, but usually we're trying to attack them intermediate, on the ground, short game. I think the linebacker play is going to be more key for them than their DBs. Their DBs are great. Keon Sabb is great. Damani Jackson is great. But I think it's going to come down to who's going to lead that defense, especially with the fact and the idea that they have had judgments on their effort, and like I said, those loafs have been a real issue for them this season. So he's one of the true returning starters. He's been in that Alabama defense, in that locker room since Saban. So he knows what that standard was like before and what it should be now. So he's going to be a guy they should lean on when it comes to not only his play he puts out on the field, but also from a leadership standpoint of hey, this isn't the Alabama way. This is how we got to do things, and this is how we get wins.
Yeah, I really like that player. I think that's 100% what it's going to be. A leadership impact player
For sure.
is going to be big for them. Before we get out of here, let's talk score prediction.
Right.
What everybody wants to hear. What do you got? Who do you got? How many? What do you think the game's going to be?
After thinking all day, I'm going to go 31-21 Dogs.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in a very similar headspace. I think 31's around the right number for Georgia. I'm going to go 31-23. I'm going to go an 8-point win for Georgia.
23.
Hold them to a couple field goals.
Okay.
I think the Georgia red zone defense is going to have to step up in order to win this game, and I think that a big part of that is going to be holding Alabama to a few field goals. I think that's 3 to be exact. 2 touchdowns, 3 field goals. That's going to be a big factor in Georgia winning this game. I'll take like a 2-second break. We don't need to cut it, and then I'll just go straight into an outro. That is going to do it for us here live Beyond the Hedges tonight. It is going to be a movie. It is going to be cinema tomorrow night here in Sanford Stadium. We are going to be all over your feed for the next 24 hours. We'll be all over your feed in terms of quote post, short form. We will be at tailgates tomorrow. We will be on the field pregame. We will be on the field at halftime. We will be on the field postgame. We will be posting story updates, score updates. If you're going to get sick of us,
it's a lot of stuff.
that's too bad. We're going to be there anyway, and it's going to be a great time. So make sure you go follow us and check us out at the Players Lounge, at Georgia CFB, at jack.m.wright.
At Jacob Hardie 23.
And we will see y'all tomorrow. Go Dogs.